Hi, I'm Bill Stevenson with UiPath, and in this week's episode of the Agentic Advantage, Masaki and I are going to bring you insights from the field to help propel your agentic automation program. Both of us were at conferences and we learned so much information from partners, developers, and customers.
Hi, I'm Masaki. I was at the Microsoft Build session in Seattle. Bill was at the SAP Sapphire event in Orlando, and we had so much interesting conversation with developers and customers. I hope you enjoy this episode.
So, Masaki, I'm really excited about this week because both of us were at two separate conferences with two different audiences. And I know both of us came away from those conferences with a ton of insight about how customers, partners, developers, and other audiences are thinking about agentic automation. And so I'm really excited to kind of unpack some of these insights for our listeners because I believe that what we learned, what we heard, and what we brought back is going to be really, really helpful for other people that are looking to build an agentic automation program that delivers real value. So I was at SAP Sapphire in Orlando, Florida. And where were you, Masaki?
I was in Seattle for Microsoft Build. There are a lot of developers, and there were a lot of interesting conversation I had with them.
So I'm not familiar with that conference. So tell us a little bit about Microsoft Build.
Yeah, so Microsoft Build is one of the biggest developer-focused conference. So they would announce some new technology around Azure platform, Copilot, or Microsoft 365, GitHub. There were a lot of exciting news for developers. So mainly their session is around those technical update, especially towards developers.
You know, it's funny. So I was at SAP Sapphire, right? SAP Sapphire is mostly a customer conference for SAP customers. Customers that are already on SAP platform primarily, a lot of whom are looking to move from the old SAP ERP called ECC to the new version called S/4HANA. And there's a lot of buzz happening around that topic alone. But this conference, SAP Sapphire, is primarily customers and primarily non-technical customers. So I think the insights we can unpack for the audience are going to be really helpful to show both sides of the equation.
I agree.
So what were the three kind of key takeaways that you had coming out of Microsoft Build? And then I'll do the same thing for SAP Sapphire.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say there's three concepts Microsoft was really pushing in this session. Conference was one, low code solutions, and two, pro code solutions, and the end is open framework agentic solutions. They had a lot of announcement around those categories, and the UiPath was invited actually as a partner because we have great opportunity to collaborate together, Microsoft and UiPath. Each categories, low code, pro code, open source ecosystem. So those are the three topics that they announced around.
Yeah, I'm personally very excited about this Microsoft platform partnership because so many of our customers leverage Microsoft in a meaningful way, right? And customers are looking for synergies.
Yes.
To reduce the number of platforms they have to support and maintain and pay for. And so this partnership where UiPath and Microsoft are together and innovating, I think is valuable for us as a company, but also really for our customers. Can you maybe unpack just for a second what that partnership looks like?
Yeah, for sure. We were actually invited to this conference because we had a customer, Johnson Control, who worked with Microsoft and the UiPath to collaborate to build this agentic use case. We had a fireside chat with the director of automation program, Ram. So it was really exciting. Yeah, so Yes, let's unpack what kind of collaboration we are having following the announcement Microsoft had in the conference. So the first part is they had a lot of announcement around low-code solution. So they, of course, agentic concept is everywhere now, and the Microsoft is really investing a lot of time and money towards low-code solution. They have Copilot Studio and the AI Foundry to develop agents, low code, no code. Each solution has its own advantages, but as a summary, now developers can build the agents without any coding. So that will fast forward the development time of each agent solution. You can really create focused tasks specific agent within Microsoft platform. It was great. They had a lot of innovative announcement around it, and they announced the agentic solution around low code app creation capability. So it was really impressive to see how now developers can talk with this low code IDE, I would say, and the out of box agents. The solutioning business requirement agent will summarize the business requirement based on the first user input, and based on that, solutioning agent will create the actual web application.
Wow.
With some business logic. It looked like magic. This is truly a disruptive and completely new way of making solutions, and it's all low code. I can't believe this is now real. So a lot of developers excited.
As I think about the partnership, it sounds to me like, Microsoft is going and doing what you just described, which is not really UiPath's core competency, right? UiPath's core competency is enterprise automation that drives efficiency across the business. And this orchestration layer, which we believe is best in class for agents, robots, and people, Microsoft is doing this other thing. And really those two things are complementary.
Yes, you are nailing it. So for the even low code part, some people might think, oh, UiPath does the low code, is it in conflicting? The truth is we have a lot of collaboration opportunity, like JCI are using both. There are space that UiPath fits better, especially for this really complex this transactional business process. If you want to automate those things, UiPath really sophisticated robotic process automation technology would fit really well. And our agentic orchestration layer is going to take care of the actual execution, regardless if it's in UiPath platform or not. We actually announced a new capability to collaborate with Copilot Studio, Copilot agent, basically, or even Power Automate Flow. You can integrate those elements within UiPath agentic orchestration layer, because we recognize company has both technology in their portfolio, and being able to use existing assets for the overall end-to-end automation process we recognize it's really important. So this is where customers can bring a significant value, even if you are using Microsoft entity. There's a lot of value.
Like we talked about on our earnings call yesterday, UiPath has almost 11,000 customers, right? And those customers started with UiPath, generally speaking, with RPA, right? Traditional robotic process automation, some document processing, email processing, testing, things like that. But now as they move into the agentic world, we have the platform to orchestrate all of those things, which is a huge advantage for our customers. And now, like you just described, they can bring agents from Microsoft or other platforms, right? But orchestrate that with the platform that they already have in-house.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just a brilliant partnership and synergy between us and Microsoft that adds a ton of value to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm wearing this autopilot and copilot steering up agent together. I got it at the happiness.
Did you bring me one of those pins back from the conference?
I wish I could bring more next time.
Well, tell me your 3 insights, Masaki, from the conference. So, like, unpack those 3 things that you think our audience ought to know, and something they ought to bake into their mentality, their planning, their strategy as they're starting to build automations with agents. Like, what do they need to know, or what do they need to hear?
Yeah, so the first topic was low code. There are a lot of low code solutions available in Microsoft and the UiPath. UiPath is low code automation platform essentially. So it will fast forward the development time to deliver the actual value to the business. So that's first topic. The second topic is pro code. Microsoft Build is a developer conference, so there are a lot of enthusiastic programmer engineers, and they love coding. Microsoft announces a lot of really exciting announcement around there. Now Microsoft, because they have GitHub in their portfolio, they also show the new Copilot solution within GitHub. It's like you just talk with this IDE, and developer just don't really need to code. They kind of oversight what the agent is doing. You can push the certain code, and then you can assign certain agent to fix the issues, and the agent will do its own work, commit the project to the GitHub, and the human can now validate the code. So imagine how transformative the development experience is going to look like. Yeah. All the engineers. So any in-house system development process is going to be very efficient, because there are certain systems that in-house pro code solutioning makes sense. There are a lot of places that we are not saying everything is going to be low code. There are certain places you have to build the system from scratch. And that's where Microsoft is going to be really, really powerful. And they even announced this new capability of transforming the legacy application to the modern application. Now they have the Copilot technology to help you to migrate the legacy system to new one. So it was quite impressive. It's going to be really disruptive technology for any enterprise customers. But even there, I think UiPath is going to be really helpful, because there's going to be transition time. RPA is still a really useful technology to connect with multiple different type of application, especially legacy system. Maybe once you migrate everything, you don't need the RPA technology for that particular system. But, enterprise customers have many legacy systems. It will still take time.
Well, I'll talk about it with S/4HANA at SAP. Even that system, which is, kind of state of the art automation, and even robotic process automation is still required and still the best solution in many instances.
Right. Yeah, a lot of business logic is implemented on the user interface side.
Right. And
you can't just do the back-end automation. RPA still will take the really critical part of the automation strategy. Once you have that as components, then once you start adding new application layer, because if you have really streamlined agentic orchestration layer, you can identify which migration will affect which part of the process immediately. So agentic orchestration is not only the development strategy, but whole IT strategic movement, because once you have the migration plan, you have to be able to understand what's actually going on in the system. Agentic orchestration will give you opportunity to really understand what kind of business process is happening in the enterprise. So there's a play that UiPath can do even in the pro code aspect.
I'm glad you mentioned that visibility, right? For IT and the business in particular, the visibility into the applications is so critical. I'm glad you mentioned that. Are there other things to take away from that conference that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, the last one is open source agent ecosystem. So Microsoft had a lot of announcement around the A2A protocol, MCP, which basically allows any open source agent solution to talk each other, and this will expand the scope of the agentic solution.
MCP is a game changer.
Yes, it will allow you to have a better connection with multiple applications with agent. And in fact, UiPath had an announcement around MCP as well. We are actually using Microsoft technology on the backend, which is you can deploy your MCP server within UiPath platform, and this will allow robots to access to MCP server, or agent to have access to MCP server to have more dynamic MCP execution framework. And also UiPath, I kind of mentioned about this topic in the previous episode, but UiPath also recognize there are a lot of developers who want to build agent with coding, like LangChain, Crew AI. We have this kind of like open agent ecosystem, so you can actually deploy this coded agent within UiPath platform and manage everything through the UiPath agentic orchestration layer. So kind of like we also kind of say like it's Switzerland of agents. Right. We have our own agentic solution, agent building experience. So there's a UiPath agent, but customer might sometimes want to use LangChain or Crew AI, or Copilot Studio is an awesome agentic building experience, or maybe you want to use Copilot within the end-to-end backend automation. We will handle everything. Like you can assign any kind of agent within this agentic orchestration layer. So we are very excited to see many customers using multiple kind of agent within a single agentic orchestration layer.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the right analogy or not, but I think of the UiPath platform and the orchestration layer in particular somewhat of like the highway, right? It's the road upon which your agents, your robots, and your people interact with each other and get work done in a way that's safe and secure and compliant. And like you said earlier, in a way that the customer has visibility into those things, right? Because let's not forget that agents, robots, people, they're all doing work for the company, right? This work has to be done in the right way, at the right time, for the right cost.
Yeah.
And given 11,000 customers have the UiPath platform, they have the infrastructure, have the road, the freeway, but they also have tools like you mentioned, Agent Builder, the ability to deploy enterprise-grade robotic process automation, the ability for humans in the loop to interact with those agents and robots easily, and a way to govern all of that so it's safe and secure for the company.
Yeah, you're nailing it. So that's what we heard a great feedback on at the conference. A lot of developers are seeing a lot of agentic technology and they're excited about it. But when it comes to implementation, they have to think about monitoring, optimization, operation. And when they see the BPMN diagram and with the actual execution trail with our product, UiPath Maestro, they're like, yes, this is exactly what we needed. How can I use it? Like we had a really exciting...
Just so everybody knows, we call our orchestration layer Maestro. It's a term Masaki just used for clarity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was really fortunate to see the excitement from all the developers I saw at the conference, because they needed such a function.
Yeah.
And I heard this could be really transformative and disruptive technology to adapt those agents within their solution. So that was Microsoft Build at Seattle, and the Build at the exact same days you were in Orland, Florida, at the Sapphire conference, SAP Sapphire. So yeah, how was your experience there? What people were saying, and tell me about it.
It's my second year in a row going to Sapphire. It's in Orlando at the convention center. I think there's something like 60,000 people. I could be wrong about that, but there's thousands of people that go to this conference globally. It's mostly customers, line of business and IT, but a lot of line of business folks. So I think I heard a little bit different. I heard some different perspectives than what you heard, right? As MS Build being mostly developers, this conference being line of business and kind of more general IT. I would say the three things that I took away from the conference was customers are overwhelmed by the pace of technological change happening and coming at them currently. Overwhelmed.
Right.
I think that's number one. Number two, SAP and all of their partners, some of the big GSIs like Deloitte and UI and big tech partners like UiPath and others, everyone is talking about agents.
Right.
It is the thing that people are talking about.
Right.
That's number two. I think the third one is related to number one, which is customers are now trying to figure out, how do I leverage agents in the context of my ecosystem, S/4HANA, other critical systems, Salesforce, ServiceNow, whatever. How do I leverage agents to keep the core clean? That's the term SAP uses, right? Keep the standard functionality there and try not to customize too much, right? That creates technical debt. So how do I use agents to do that? How do I use agents in the context of these large systems to do more work and more of the mundane, kind of repetitive work that humans do? Basically, make it better for my business users who are interacting with these systems of record. I think those are probably the three things that I took away from the conference.
Right. It sounds like the theme of the topic are very similar, even though your conference was towards a more line of business side. Ours, the Microsoft Build was more towards the developer. The challenge they are facing, and the theme is very similar. How do we adapt this new technology? It's kind of chaotic. There are a lot of solutions out there.
Yeah.
How do we incorporate this and actually bring the value? And it sounds like those are the exact issues where our agentic orchestration solution can actually help in reality.
I had an interesting conversation with a customer, a utility customer. And this gentleman was on the business side. He was a customer service executive. That was the line of business he oversaw. And the first question I asked him was, are you familiar with agentic automation? And despite all the buzz at the conference and outside of the conference in places like our podcast right here, he was not familiar with it. He hadn't really been exposed to it. And so what I took away from that is we can't take for granted that a lot of people in the business units, departments, etc., they're focused on their responsibility, right? They're not necessarily thinking or listening to the latest and greatest technology innovations that are happening.
Right.
So I think what I took away from that was, in my customer interactions that I'm going to have in the future, I'm not going to assume that people understand what agentic automation is or the power of it or anything related to what you and I talk about, right? I'm going to start from the beginning to meet them where they're at. so I don't assume something that may be incorrect.
Yeah, I think that's an important part. And in the end, agent is just one of the solution, and we don't necessarily need to use agent for everything. There are things that RPA fits the best, or we just need human to take the accountability within the process. So I think, and we are learning still. This is a new concept for even us, and we are every day when I engage with customers, we identify new agentic opportunities. Oh yes, that's a really great agentic opportunity. What a creative way of thinking. Customer figure out their solution using our technology. So it's really exciting to see what customers are finding out throughout this new technologies.
How do you think, Masaki, developers and technical people working inside of companies can do a better job of helping their business counterparts understand the power of agentic automation and how to deploy it? And I'm gonna put that in the context of an article I saw, I think it was in CIO magazine, saying that most AI projects that are being kicked off in companies are failing. Right. So CIOs are starting to go, why are we trying to build everything in-house in a bespoke fashion? Why don't we leverage AI capabilities that our partners already have, whether it be UiPath or Microsoft or somebody else? But in that light, how would you coach a developer or someone like that as they're interacting with their business counterparts?
Yeah, that's a great $1 million question. I think the same best practice we've been giving the customer in RPA time would still apply. So what we had been telling the customer, when RPA was new, 5 years ago, start this small scope while knowing there's a bigger picture to capture. So maybe it's an order to cash process, which has a really big scope.
Yeah.
Starting from customer ordering, closing the deal, and there are a lot of validation and sale accounting process happens, and in the end we have to deliver the actual product. So it's a very big scope of work you might want to tackle, and that's the ultimate goal. But to start and to prove the capability of this agentic automation, break down those bigger process into smaller scope and tackle on the most critical part first. Maybe it's a invoice processing, maybe it's a dispute resolution, maybe it's sales order management solution. And within that, there's things that robotic process automation makes sense, and there are things agent makes sense. There's things human in the loop makes sense.
I think that is such a smart strategy. In fact, I was on a call this morning with a customer with whom we are building an agentic automation POC. Actually, it's more like a pilot that's going to go live in the future. And technically, everything is going great. But I asked the question, because this is a call center type engagement. And I asked the customer, how are you going to get your call center agents comfortable with leveraging this agent? Right? Because technology change is disruptive for people, right? And there needs to be some level of change management that happens. And this customer had a great explanation and a great description of how they're already doing that, even before the pilot goes live. But I think, back to my question, I think one of the things developers and technical people can do in service of their business counterparts is help them think through all that you just said. In addition to that, the change management that's required in a business at the process level for people that are interacting with that process, either upstream, midstream, or downstream, so that the agentic automation doesn't feel threatening or foreign or confusing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. And actually now a lot of human work is going to be defining the most optimal process. Like we kind of will become the manager of robot and the agent. We somebody has to design the whole process, and that's where our creativity can be put on. And that somebody we understand the business, we understand the ultimate goal as a human, and we design the process to achieve the ultimate goal. So our creativity is pretty still needed, even if in this agentic era.
That's a good point. Yeah. So back to the three things. I would say customers are confused. They need help from their technical partners and their internal IT teams. At the end of the day, I think the critical theme that I heard was, how do I leverage agents to do more work on behalf of my company to make the process easier for the end user, reduce cost, right? In the context of SAP, they talk about clean core and fit the standard and not customizing as little as possible, right? No technical debt or very little technical debt. So that theme is running through the whole conference that I attended. So the advice I would give to the business user, and I think we just spoke to the developer a moment ago, talking about how to interact with the business user. I think the advice I would give to the business user, Masaki, is when you sit down with your tech partner, whether that's UiPath, Microsoft, or someone else, or your internal technical team, ask them the hard questions. Ask them, how is agentic automation going to solve, and then just list the business priorities, right? Like if the business is coming to, or the IT is coming to the business with a solution or an idea, I would ask the questions. How is it going to solve the business problem? How is it going to make it easier on the end user? What's the cost to do it? And what's the long-term maintenance of doing it? Because what I'm coaching my customers on is, back to the CIO article I referenced a few minutes ago, try to leverage what's out of the box from your partners, right? UiPath, for example, has a whole orchestration layer, which is already built and out of the box. You can build agents with UiPath. You can build agents with Microsoft. You can do a lot of the things to solve the business problem with the partners you already have without having to build bespoke AI products and solutions. And that goes a long way towards ultimately bringing real value based upon your investment.
I love it. It reminded me of how enterprise company went from building solution from scratch to more packaged ERP systems. So it's like we are seeing the rhymes of history here.
Well, Masaki, I think that's all I had for our audience today. Did you have any other insights you wanted to share before we sign off?
Yeah, I think one thing I want to say, what I want to add here is, when it comes to trying to identify agent use case within the whole process, try to apply the 12 agent common patterns that we talked about in the previous episode.
Yeah.
Especially for semantic data operation part, classification, extraction, validation, formatting, searching, those patterns would allow you to find.
I'm really glad you pointed back to that, Masaki, because I wasn't thinking about that, but you're right. In the previous episode, we gave our listeners a framework by which to think through when they're building these agentic automation processes. And I think, yeah, it's so smart to have a framework in mind, whether you're from the business or from IT, when you approach these business problems and try to solve them with agentic automation.
Yeah, I would love to hear feedback in the comments of the video.
That's right. So, Masaki challenged you. If you have feedback, comments, or ideas for our future episodes, please leave them in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. But for now, that is the end of this episode of the Agentic Advantage.